On August 1st, 2022, Ridgefield's Economic and Community Development Commission met. On the agenda was a proposal to create a Cultural District Award to recognize someone who made a significant difference to the Cultural District, the first in Connecticut, and to bring heightened attention to the district. But what should it be called? Geoff Morris suggested that it be called the Cass Gilbert Award in the memory of one of Ridgefield's most renowned icons. He restored and lived in what is now the Keeler Tavern from 1907 to 1957, the last to live there before it was conserved by the Keeler Tavern Preservation Society. He was a world-renowned architect, designing the Woolworth Building, 2 state capitals, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Building, and the U.S. Supreme Court, and Ridgefield's own Cass Gilbert Fountain. But Kay Gelfman, after consulting her peanut gallery, thought otherwise. Here's the Commission's conversation about Cass Gilbert's shortcomings.
All right, I'm going to move on in the meeting agenda. The idea for an award in the Cultural District. Okay.
So Kay and I had an email exchange, and the idea is to honor someone who made a significant difference to the cultural district in the course of the year, maybe just any time. And you know, the reason is to just give more life to the cultural district, make sure it continues to be operational and remembered and all that. And so we went back and forth, and we came up with this idea, which Kay is now disavowing, even though it was her name.
We're still at the discussion stage, I see.
So we came up with the Cass Gilbert Award, and it says the Cultural District is a major driver of economic activity for the town of Ridgefield. It provides jobs, attracts visitors, and supports local businesses. The people and organizations that comprise the cultural community are what provide this economic vitality. With the Cass Gilbert Award, ECDC annually honors one person who has made a significant contribution to Ridgefield's cultural district. One of Ridgefield's early cultural icons, Cass Gilbert, was an architect whose creativity was a major driver of economic activity, designing the Woolworth Building, the U.S. Supreme Court House, and the fountain that welcomes visitors to Ridgefield. To recognize that honor, we will add this individual's name to a permanent sculpture installation in front of Town Hall on Main Street. ECDC will organize an award ceremony to bestow the designation at this annual event. And then...
I thought for a second you were going to say we're carving a name into the fountain.
Hey, that's not a bad idea. Now we don't have to buy a sculpture.
It would be cheaper.
And then you want to express your own
I said,
disapproval of
well, it was
your own.
because I had my peanut gallery that you shouldn't name an award after an old white guy at this day and age. That was one. Two, he's an architect. It's confusing because the award might be to, well, Richard Klein from the Aldrich is the person we're sort of as our inaugural winner. But it might be someone who just contributed a lot of money to it. It could, you know, it could be a broad definition of how they enhance the cultural district. So I think making it a creative person, an architect is a little confusing. But mostly I feel like you just don't name an award right now after an old white guy.
And I would like to suggest, if it's a Cultural District Award, we just name it the Cultural
Yes,
District
that was
Award.
your solution.
I mean, it's very specific,
I was
that
going in
people
the other
understand,
direction,
like
but
we don't have to
nobody-
describe it. And if the state comes up with a state Cultural District Award, then we name this the Ridgefield Cultural District Award.
But nobody liked my Acorn Award or my Fountain Award.
Well, there's no one not to like it.
It-
It's only been the two of us talking.
Well, I just, because if you name it the Acorn or the Cass Gilbert, you have to describe what it is.
Yes, that's true.
Whereas if you say it's a Cultural District Award,
Yes.
people know
The problem with, like,
what it is.
I mean, other than Cass Gilbert has a certain stature.
He has a cachet,
Yeah.
correct.
And there aren't a lot of others of that stature that I can think of that aren't old white guys.
Yes, that is a problem.
And so, what are the alternatives in terms of, I mean, I'm thinking maybe, the Ned Armstrong Award or something like that.
Who's,
Betsy Armstrong Award. They conducted the Underground Railroad.
oh,
But that gets a
but
little
that's
off,
what, see,
a
that's
little
a
off
little
topic.
confusing.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds like a historical award.
I
This is a-
accepted, even though it goes against my grain of trying to have it be like unique and creative. I accepted the Cultural District Award, because that's what it is.
Well, and that's what we're trying to promote, is a
Yeah.
cultural district.
Yes.
So if we keep beating it
Yes,
into people's heads,
yes,
we're a
Right.
cultural district.
Yes.
If you, because a lot of people say like, oh, you're that cultural area, or like a lot of people forget the terminology and
I mean, here's an audacious thing, because someone who's also contributed on the level of Cass Gilbert is Alison Stockley.
well,
But do you name an award
Richard,
after someone living?
is Richard Klein, though, that's what, the whole reason I thought up the idea was because. of
Slightly
the-
younger white guy.
Well, we can't
I see.
frame the award.
I know,
around
around
Klein.
Richard, I
well,
know.
and I think
Yeah.
whoever we choose to give the first award to, I think that's once we figure out the award. I think the first step
Yeah.
is to figure out the
I
award.
agree.
Yes, correct.
I agree. I mean, I happen to like Cass Gilbert idea because of his immense stature. You know, people know about the Cass Gilbert fountain, and I'm not sure how many people really know who he is or what it is.
Thank God it's not Philip Glass. Like,
Um,
could never copycat us.
Right. And, you know, there's language you can put in about his cultural contributions as well as his economic contributions.
And you weren't worried about the murals in the State House in Missouri?
No.
What was that? Oh, they were bad.
He had some questionable depictions of,
Native Americans.
So,
you're not allowed to say that, apparently.
That's a problem, you know?
Well, I mean, that's the thing,
a
as,
problem.
almost as soon as I sent you that email, I was like, oh my gosh, what if he has, you don't wanna do this, all this effort and energy into figuring out this
Yep.
award and then have somebody bing, you know.
well, I think the award should really promote people that are really dynamic currently and feeding into the economy, feeding into the culture and the arts, and you thinking of like all of the new people that have moved into town that we assume are from like New York City and things like that and don't know the history of Ridgefield. We're all just
Mhm.
supporting our own idea. I think naming it the cultural district is really
Mhm.
helpful because it promotes exactly what we want
Yeah,
to
yeah,
promote.
I
And what we
agree.
could do is every year give an award to a current person and a historical person, like someone who built up this town to be what it
Ooh, That's
is.
an interesting
Like,
idea.
like in memory of Cass Gilbert, he gets the
Oh, I
first
like that.
historical award, and then a current person gets, yeah, I'm not phrasing it well,
No, that's an interesting
But-
idea,
but-
yeah.
and it can balance it, that
You're
people
just
can
trying-
learn
or
about the
you just-
history, but we can also be promoting the current day of what are people doing for our community.
I agree. I think that an award is simultaneously, the name of the award is simultaneously the most and least important thing of it. It's like your band
Right.
name.
Right,
Sharing my experience, having given 2 awards in the last month to Amy Piantagini and Teresa Santoro. We called it the New Connections Award because we couldn't think of anything else, and we didn't name it after anybody. We just thought about like what would be a name that sort of reflected
Mhm.
what we're trying to do, our values. And then we left ourselves the flexibility to, you know, this year it's gonna be for mentorship, next year it's gonna be for whatever
Mhm.
thematically we want. And so you give yourself a little flexibility and runway in the future to let the thing adapt, so that it can have legs. So I think, you know, a lot of the discussion about like what should you name it is less important than like getting it started. And calling it the thing that you want to promote is
Mhm.
probably a pretty good idea. And the last thing I want to say about it is like our totally made up award that we just sort of like gave ourselves the authority to give, was taken extremely seriously by the honorees. You know, we had a total of 4 speeches given, and Teresa's and her mentee, they went on. I mean, it was 5 or 6 minutes apiece. So these are things that people really take seriously, and that they mean a lot. It's rich in meaning. So I think, you know, let's just call it the Cultural District Award and get rolling.
And that's true that we could always, I mean, future commission could always name it after somebody.
Yeah.
Whereas once you name it Cass Gilbert, you can't take his name out of it unless.
Or you could, if you wanted to name it in honor of somebody every year and then give it to somebody else, you know, you could do that. But just don't be too rigid in the format of it. Give yourself
That's a
like,
good point.
you know, this year, what is it gonna be about?
Yeah.
And all laddering up to the Cultural District
Yeah.
promotion.
I think we should maybe table it and just keep thinking about it a little bit.
Well, I'm happy to call it that. Should we vote on that name? And
Yeah, I mean, why
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
just
good.
decide?
then
Yeah.
we can.
I mean, the only
get
reason
a
not to
vote.
decide is that Bob and Krista and Sean
Yeah, aren't here,
don't.
but we do have a quorum.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was.
Do you wanna vote on whether we should vote? Okay, well,
If they
let's,
have a
let's take a
problem
vote.
with it, they
Yeah.
can bring it up then.
Mhm.
Okay, so.
Yep. All right, so I'll make a motion that we, create are we saying an annual award or just at this point an award?
Well, I thought Jeffrey's argument for being, or one of you said the reason to have an annual award, it was a good.
Yeah,
It's good
I like an
reason.
annual award.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it simple,
Yeah,
we know when it's coming and the community
Not a
also
monthly
can
award.
anticipate it. Yeah.
Well, one idea was only when you think it's appropriate, and then that just puts a lot of weight on that award.
but it
We haven't done it
also
in 3
gets a
years.
little lost, I think,
Yes.
if you can schedule it and it's something
Yep.
and then, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll make a motion that we create an annual award given by the ECDC to a member in our community who has contributed significantly to the cultural district, and we name it the Cultural District Award.
A second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Unanimous? Great.
As my pronouns are such that I identify as an old white man, these unchallenged comments by Ms. Gelfman and discussion were extremely insensitive and personally offensive. Critical theory has crept into and now permeates Ridgefield's ECDC in some very unflattering ways. It is time to replace this Board of Selectmen appointed commission.